So Jason Whitlock, who is a sports columnist, analyst, former writer at the Kansas City Star. He also works for Fox Sports, or he did at one point, and he's a former football player as well. Did an interesting piece the other day on how he thinks that American sports are letting down America. Right. So he did this segment on Hillsdale's College YouTube channel, and Hillsdale College is a college that was founded in 1844. It's an independent liberal arts college, But I digress from that. So he does this segment, and basically he says sports is letting America down, and he talks about how the culture war is a huge problem and it's ruining sports. So let's take a listen to what he has to say, and then I'm going to respond to it.
America is a shining example of sports' transformative power. The games the difficulties of our days. But sometimes it also speaks to something better in us. And when you see this group of folks of different shades and different backgrounds and coming from different communities and neighborhoods and all across the country, and then playing as one team and playing the right way and celebrating each other and being joyous in that tells us a little something about what America is and what America can be. Yeah, America is a shining example of sports' transformative power. The games we play, the games at the center of our social behavior, combine with our founding principles to enhance the American experience. America's enemies know this, which is why the culture war has moved to our arenas and stadiums. Sports are now in the same crosshairs as our founding fathers, under attack for past racial sins and unappreciated for their vital role in cultivating racial unity. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, but by writing the Declaration of Independence, he made the emancipation of black slaves inevitable. American sports were once segregated, but no American industry can match sports empowerment of black men. The black player-dominated National Football League is the most powerful force in American popular culture. It provides the #1 television show on 5 different television networks: CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, and the NFL Network. In this era of have it your way TV, where consumers record and watch shows when they want while fast forwarding through advertisements, only the live sporting events can be consistently counted on to deliver audiences that sit through commercials. But while American sports have never been more influential, they've also never been more vulnerable to foreign influence. Their partnership with global brands and their desire to build global audiences have given foreign countries a pathway to manipulate American sports and culture. Look at how China, with its 1.4 billion consumers, rules the National Basketball Association and its de facto parent company, Nike, the same way it rules Hollywood. Access to China's consumers and Asia's cheap labor, even sometimes slave labor, is the key to Nike's economic growth. The Portland-based shoe and apparel manufacturer generates $40 billion a year in revenue. Its global reach, agenda, and revenue streams dictate the strategy of the $8 billion a year NBA. Many are unaware that Nike and not the NBA controls basketball. One could make a fair argument that the NBA is nothing more than the in-house marketing department of Nike. Both Nike and the NBA kowtow to China, which explains their silence on the horrific human rights abuses inside China and the suppression of Hong Kong freedom fighters by China's communist government. More important, Nike and the NBA's China agenda helps explain why Nike pitchman LeBron James and Colin Kaepernick enthusiastically smear the United States as inherently racist and evil, from Joseph Stalin to Fidel Castro to our own time, the communists' favorite propaganda tactic has been to paint the West and the U.S. in particular as racist. The militant social justice messaging of James and Kaepernick serves the interests not only of the Chinese Communist Party and globalist corporations like Nike, but also of our political left. Kaepernick's national anthem defiance in 2016 gave the left an opportunity to politicize football, America's new national pastime, and force it into the kind of progressive posturing already commonplace in the NBA and Hollywood. Arrogance, lack of foresight, and the advice of an inner circle that included former Clinton administration press secretary Joe Lockhart as the NFL's vice president of communications explained Commissioner Roger Goodell's laissez-faire approach to Kaepernick's protest. Underestimating the determination of the left and the power of social media to intimidate corporate America, Goodell and the NFL's TV partners wrongly thought the Kaepernick controversy would fade over time. Instead, 4 years after Kaepernick first knelt, the leftist mob has forced the National Football League, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, and the National Basketball Association to take their own knees and pay homage to the dishonest Black Lives Matter narrative on police brutality.
I love how he uses an Obama quote. And, for those of you who don't know, the quote that he's quoting at the beginning about athletes coming together was a quote that Barack Obama said when he had the Chicago Cubs at the White House in, I believe, 2015. Was it? 2015, 2016? Something like that. I love what he uses, like, hey, here's someone on the left, Obama. He said sports should bring people together. This is good. I believe sports is not bringing people together because of the far left. This is bad. And it's like, I know you lefties love Obama. So if Obama says something and I'm saying something, by virtue, it must be true. Like, yeah, literally. Like, I love it. Like, the thing about the right, 1 minute they're saying, oh, Obama's terrible. Obama's a socialist. Obama ruined America. But then on the other hand, they'll be like, oh, Obama said we should come together. See, all you guys on the left, you're just like us, right? Like, because you love Obama and we like what Obama said, so you must like what we say, and everything we say must be true. It's like, first of all, Obama basically is one of you guys, okay? Like, yeah, he's a Democrat. Yeah, he did Obamacare, but come on, man. Neoliberal corporatist Obama from the do-nothing Democrats, right? Like, I'm sorry, the do-nothing diet Republicans. That's what I'm calling them. Kyle Kalinske started calling them diet Republicans. I love it. I'm just running with it. The do-nothing diet Republicans. And you expect to bring up Obama's name, right? And automatically we're going to agree with you. But I digress. Now, there's a lot of things to unpack here. And we're going to talk about the things that he said that I feel are total BS. And I'm also going to talk about the things that I agree with, because I like to be fair. Now, let's start with the BS. He says that we're criticizing our founding fathers for their racist sins, but are ungrateful for the things that they've done for us. And he goes on to talk about Thomas Jefferson. He says, yes, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, but he also wrote the Declaration of Independence, which inevitably led to the freedom of slaves. Jason, come on, man. Bro, you gotta be kidding me, man. First of all, no, this did not lead to the inevitable freedom of slaves, because slaves, according to the Constitution of the United States, were 3/5 of a person. So the Declaration of Independence did not apply to slaves. And by the way, not only did slaves not have full rights at that time, but basically if you weren't wealthy, elite, and didn't own property, you didn't have rights. So if you were a woman, you did not have those rights. So no, the Declaration of Independence did not lead to the inevitable freedom for not only for slaves, but for any of the other groups that I mentioned. Even if you were like a poor white guy who owned no property, You barely had any rights. You didn't get a vote. You didn't get a say. And slaves, oh, God bless you if you're a slave, because, you don't get shit, right? You're just, getting worked to death in the cotton fields every day, right? So, and look, this is my frustration with the black conservative movement as a black man, and yes, I am a black man for those of you who didn't know. Sometimes you could have some good points, but you always have to frame those points in a way that like sucks America's dick. like that's what you're doing. You're sucking America's dick. Like, oh yeah, they had our problem, but look, he did this, and this haven't led to this, and yes, equality for black people, yes, there's no excuses, there's nothing wrong, yes. Come on, man, just be realistic. Like, you can't rewrite history. Like, you can frame history how you want, but if you actually are someone who studies history, then you will know, like, this narrative is just simply, it's not true. It's not true. Now, the second thing that he said was BS. He goes on to talk about LeBron and Kaepernick, right? And he said something good here. So let's talk about that. So he talks about LeBron, Kaepernick, and he's talking about how Nike is being used by China for China's agenda. This is true. This is actually a good point. How the NBA, NFL, and other leagues and their ambassadors will not say anything negative about China because they don't want their profits to be impacted. Yes, that is true. And that is something that I have personally criticized with my friends and in my circles and brought up in discussions. The human rights violations that China is committing are egregious and they are terrible. And honestly, I've criticized LeBron James before on this for not saying anything or for saying people should mind their business. I've criticized the leagues for not saying anything and not being willing to give up that income in exchange for using your platform to say what's right. But, at the same time, I also realize they're running a business. They don't want to, fuck themselves in the ass for their business. And they're going to do what's good for business. Now, I'm not saying that's right to do or wrong, but it's just the reality. This is how big corporations work, especially in America. But, yeah, he was right about the human rights thing, and he was also right that people should be speaking up about it. But here's where he goes wrong. He immediately goes to talking about communism and saying how LeBron and Kaepernick just criticize America, say America's bad, America's inherently racist, and this is the same thing that the commies did. And he names Stalin, and he names Fidel Castro, and then now China. This is ridiculous. You're comparing LeBron James, right? And Colin Kaepernick to Russian and Chinese commies. I mean, you gotta stop, man. You really gotta stop. Like, first of all, LeBron James has his More Than a Vote initiative. He's been telling people to get out and vote. He literally campaigned for Hillary Clinton, which is something I'm going to touch on in a minute. But he campaigned for Hillary Clinton in Akron, Ohio. Like, does this really sound like a guy who's a communist socialist? Like, I've never heard LeBron James say that we needed Medicare for all. First of all, they try to group democratic socialism with communism all the time. Which is clearly not true. But LeBron knows. That I know of. I've never heard LeBron say, oh, we need Medicare for all. Oh, we need to tax the rich. I've never heard any of these things from LeBron. LeBron might be liberal when it comes to his views on African American community and the police brutality, but as far as other political issues that I've heard, I haven't heard him say much. And sometimes he'll say things that make me think he leans more neo-corporatist, and but usually he doesn't just say anything at all. So I can't tell you what the man's views are specifically, but I can tell you they're not communist. Like Colin Kaepernick is a communist. Kneel for communism. Like, this is ridiculous, And this is the problem that I have with right-wing politicians, right-wing pundits and right-wing media people in general, whenever they go to attack somebody who they perceive to be on the left, right, or a Democrat or a progressive, they always attack them from a right-wing angle. And then they expect black people like me to jump on the train with black conservatism. No, you're attacking them wrong. Attack them from the left. Don't attack them from the right. You see, this is a thing that they do over and over and over and over and over again. How did Trump win the 2016 election, okay? He attacked Hillary from the left. He said, hey, you're corrupt. You're doing this. You're doing that. Look what you did. I'm going to end the wars because you perpetuated war. War is bad. He attacked her from the left. Now, did he do it? No, he didn't. But it goes to show you that attacking somebody from the left works, okay? Like, if you attack from the right, it's just like, yeah, I roll yarn. Like, your base is going to, listen to what you have to say, but no one else is. So if you want to live in the echo chamber your entire life, feel free, man. Feel free. Now, continuing on, he also said that these people hate America or they're ungrateful to America. Ungrateful to America. What does that even mean? Like, oh, you're ungrateful to America. America is a country. Like, what am I supposed to, walk around? Oh, I'm so grateful to the founding fathers. Oh, my God, they did. I'm going to cry. Thomas Jefferson. Benjamin Franklin. Oh, my God. George Washington. Come on, man. This is beyond ridiculous. That you're supposed to be oh, we're so grateful to the founding fathers. It sounds like it almost sounds like a religion, right? You know how people say, oh, I'm so grateful that Jesus died on the cross for me. They're that's basically what they're doing. It's like they're worshiping the founding fathers, bro. Oh my God, I'm so thankful that Benjamin Franklin helped to found this great country, and Thomas Jefferson. Oh, I'm so grateful, even though he did have slaves, but look how we treated his slaves. We treated his slaves wonderfully. You know what? America's just so great. Come on, man. Give me a break. Give me a break from the America's great stuff. When we have, unemployment and all the issues that we have in our country, we have people without health care. The last thing that I want to hear is America's great, okay? I've woken up before, without health care, not sure if I could pay my health care, and thankfully I'm in a better place now, but I didn't have health insurance at the time. I was really worried. I worked a pretty high risk job. I'm hey, if I get hurt, I'm fucked. People feel this each and every day. The number one problem we have is, people going into medical bankruptcy. As a black person, I don't know if I'm going to get harassed by the police or not. I had a gun pulled on me when I was 19 years old by a police officer for no reason at all, with my brother standing next to me. These are the things I care about. So if you're trying to get people, if you just want to talk to your own fan base, that's fine. But if you're actually trying to recruit people to your movement, which is what you say you're doing, don't sit up here and say, oh, America's just great. No, let's talk about the issues, man. Let's talk about the issues. Now, there was one other thing that he said that I wanted to touch on, which was, when it comes to sports specifically. He was saying oh, this is ruining sport. Political agendas is ruining sports. Sports should not be politicized, right? And, if that's the argument you want to make, that sports shouldn't be politicized, that's fine, But don't be hypocritical about it. So, if Colin Kaepernick shouldn't be taking a knee for police brutality, right? According to you, Jason Whitlock, then tell me why it's okay to bring the American flag in the military out there every single day. That's politicizing sports, because sports did not always do that. And when they started doing that? Oh, we want people to feel patriotic, so they'll join the military. So let's do the military. I believe they pay the NFL to do this, to bring the soldiers out and stuff. It's like, that's political. Why is it okay to politicize sports then, but it's not okay to politicize sports when black people are getting shot and in the streets? And not in this particular video, but he said before that black people don't need to be afraid of police, and that this fear is self-made and they shouldn't exist. Then why are black people 3 times more likely to be killed by cops than white people, despite the fact that their population is smaller? Why is it that more black men get locked up for nonviolent crimes than white men? These things are clearly issues, and pretending they're not issues is not going to get someone on your side, man. It's not. I know I went a little bit off topic in this. I kind of went on a rant, but it's just like, Jason, what are you doing, man? Look, your sports analysis is entertaining as hell. I did like watching you when you were on Fox News. Fox Sports, excuse me. I don't watch Fox News. Fox Sports. And I felt like he attacked LeBron James way too much, to be honest, for my taste, But overall, the man's good at his job. But it's like, come on, man, do you really have to stoop to this? Like you're borderline, I'm going to leave the video in the description. I know I've said I'm going to do that before, haven't I? I've been horrible at that. But it's like, bro, you're like borderline defending slavery. Like saying, oh yeah, he did have slaves, but look at all these other wonderful things he did, and he basically freed the slaves. Like come on, man. Come on, bro. Like, it's just ridiculous to me. It's like, it's beyond the pale. I don't get it. Like, I really don't understand the black conservative movement. And when I say that, I don't mean you can't be black and conservative. There are black conservative Republicans for sure. There are black conservative Democrats. My parents are Democrats, but they're very conservative when it comes to social issues, as far as like LGBT rights or things like that, which much to my dismay as a young Centennial liberal. But yeah, it's like I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand how politicizing sports is okay when you're bringing out soldiers and the flag, but it's not okay when black people are getting shot and killed in the street. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And also, to me, it's like, how is this ruining sports? That's what I would like to know specifically. Like, if you mean like the ratings are down a little bit, then yeah, okay, I can see that. But it's like ruining sports. Like, Black Lives Matter is ruining sports. Like, what? How is Black Lives Matter ruining sports? Like, how? Can somebody tell me? Like, please just tell me, like, how Black Lives Matter, how saying, hey, black people shouldn't get shot by the police is ruining sports. Last time I checked, James Harden is still putting up James Harden numbers. LeBron James is still putting up LeBron James numbers. Hockey is still hockey. The NFL, the hype for the NFL is pretty big this year, How is it ruining sports? Like, the sport itself. I'm not talking about the ratings and stuff. I'd be curious to see how it's ruining sports. You know what's ruining sports? The same thing that's ruining the rest of America. It's called partisanship. You see, when you have people like Jason Whitlock who make arguments against people like Colin Kaepernick, against people like LeBron James, that are totally irrational, but they'll make them anyway because they fit their argument. See, that's the problem with America. Like, see, just how I can admit Jason Whitlock has a point on China, would it really hurt for Jason to admit, yeah, you know what, LeBron does have a point about police brutality. You know what? LeBron has a point about, let's say, voter fraud, for instance. LeBron has a point about that. Would it hurt you to say that? Or are you just going to keep pretending that the issues that they're raising awareness to don't exist because it doesn't fit your narrative? So, yeah, I know this was long. This video is probably going to be like 30 minutes, guys. I like to keep my videos like within the 10 to 15 minute max range, But hey, man, listen. Somebody explain this black conservative movement to me, please. You know, and like Jason, I don't hate Jason. Like I like Jason. I dislike some things that he said and done, but I don't dislike him as a person, like, or even as an analyst. Like, I have to admit, he's entertaining as hell, even when he's saying stuff I don't agree with, like, in regards to sports. But I just don't get it, man. Yeah, somebody explain this to me.